Did you want me to sit next to you?
Sure. This is the microphone. That's the microphone. Yeah, I'll just give it.
And it's on?
You sit here, Mark.
Do I have to hold it up? I mean, if I'm holding it like this, is it going to pick up my voice?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it should.
It should be okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Hi, everybody.
I see one person.
Trinidad.
Hi, Anna.
Community meeting for March. We have our special guest, Director Brian Hanlon of the Department of Buildings, Mark Anthony Times of the Department of Buildings.
Hi, excuse me,
And
Anna.
then later on, we'll be having Amanda Schmidt from
I'm hearing
Hi,
her
Anna,
speak
can you
through
hear
the
me?
phone.
yeah, what is it? Hi.
Hi, I just wanted to let you know we can't hear anything unless you're holding the microphone up because it's all blurry in the background.
Can you hear now?
I can hear you perfect. Anything else is
So you
blurry.
have to hold that. Is everything I say going to echo? Yes.
Oh, because I have that next to me. I'll give it to you.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. So, welcome to the Trinidad Community Meeting for March. We have really special guests here. We have Brian Hanlon from the Department of Buildings and Mark Anthony Tyne from the Department of Buildings. And then at 7 o'clock, we're going to have Principal Amanda Schmidt from Wheatley Elementary and her assistant principal, Qualitra Brown. Everybody, please feel welcome on the side table over there. There's sign-up sheets for committees and working groups. And yeah, thank you so much for coming, everybody. Here's Mr. Hanlon.
Thank you. And I have to hold it like this? Okay.
Yeah, we don't have the best tech in the rec center, so maybe you could pass that message along.
I don't know. Did you hear that? Yeah. Our tech is wanting. So, would you like me, I mean, just a general overview and then questions and answers? Great. So first of all, thank you for inviting me this evening. It's a delight to be here. I was sharing that the last time I was here was the ribbon cutting back in 2011 or 12 of the Joseph Cole Recreation Center. So it's good to be back. I will, let me just introduce our team first, and then I'm going to introduce myself a little bit and then give a general overview of the agency. Since the split, some folks may be unfamiliar with what we're doing. And then I'll just dive in. You guys can ask questions, and I'll try to answer them as best I can. So first of all, I'm joined to my right. I've got Mark Anthony Tyne. And go ahead and introduce yourself.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Mark Anthony Tyne. I am the account manager for Ward 5. I've been the account manager for about 3 years. I've seen a few of you before, but I am here to help take care of all the issues that are escalated and making sure we get those resolved for you. So I will leave my contact information before we leave, and don't hesitate to reach me at all.
Great. Thank you.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Jerome Puza. I'm the program manager for the illegal construction group at the Department of Buildings. So again, I'll leave my contact if you have any questions about illegal constructions, and if you do have a stop work order, if you need help on how to resolve it. Thanks.
Thank you, Jerome and Mark Anthony. So again, Brian Hanlon. I'm actually a native Washingtonian. I grew up in the city, born and raised, and I've been here my whole life. My mom and dad actually grew up just half a mile from here. And I now live kind of back in the Eastern Market area of the city. My background is I'm trained as an architect. I spent about 10 years practicing architecture, about 14 years in development management, doing projects all over the country for colleges and universities. And then I came to government, and under Mayor Gray, I was asked to lead the Department of General Services. So I led the Department of General Services from its inception in 2011 all the way through to the end of his term. And I left government and realized after 7 or 8 years that I missed public service. I had kind of fallen in love with public service in that stint, so I came back. So I'm very grateful to have been asked by the mayor to lead the Department of Buildings. I came in last May. And as you know, the Department of Buildings, when they first asked me to lead the Department of Buildings, I said, "What's the Department of Buildings?" Because I had never heard of it. And I had to look it up on the website just like everyone else, and I realized, oh, they split it. The chairman split DCRA into 2 parts. So I came in May. I'm very grateful that I have this opportunity. I was given an opportunity to assemble my own leadership team, which I've done. I've got 3 appointees in addition to myself. We have a zoning administrator. Her name is Kathleen Beaton, and she's been with the agency for quite a while, but she is excellent. We have Keith Parsons, who's the strategic code enforcement administrator, and he oversees the enforcement of all violations and infractions. And whenever there's a code violation or a zoning regulation or illegal construction or something of that nature, Keith's shop is the one that manages essentially the enforcement of that. And then we have our chief building official is Nicole Rogers, also a native Washingtonian. Nicole she went to what is now called Jackson Reed. She grew up here in the city, and she's been with the agency about 13 years. She happens to be, I believe, the first African-American female chief building official in the United States. And she is an amazing professional. So I feel incredibly grateful to have had the opportunity to identify these folks, bring them in, and have them as colleagues. When I started in May, I came into an agency that I was told had morale issues, that had performance issues, and all sorts of reputational issues with regard to people not wanting to engage. All I had to do was watch a hearing or 2 with the chairman, and I could see there was a lot of stuff going on. So I came in and said, "Look, we're gonna start a culture of change, and we're gonna recreate ourselves." So very early on, after I had begun to assemble our team, we started a thing called DOB Stat for statistic, and it's actually modeled after a program that Martin O'Malley spearheaded in Baltimore when he was mayor and in the state of Maryland when he was governor. And we look at every single operating division, and it's a process that it's hard for people to do because it involves a close examination of what's broken, of where the problems are. I have been seeking input since day one. I tell people all the time, I want you to give me your criticism. I want you to tell us what's wrong. I created a position. I eliminated a chief of staff and hired a person to come in as the chief special projects officer, whose sole purpose is to intake feedback and criticism and to figure out how to operationalize it so we can create ongoing process improvements. So I will hit my first anniversary in May. We will be able to begin to start unrolling the changes that are occurring. I will say this: this is turning a ship like this in a different direction is a big lift, and there is not going to be a single moment where I say, "There it is, the new DOB, ta-da, it's done." It's going to be in incremental steps along the way. And the things that I'm focused on, aside from general operational efficiency, which is, that's one of those terms that, what does that mean? What I want is outcomes. I want outcomes that matter. vacant and blighted buildings. We have an enormous amount of energy looking at vacant and blighted buildings. Not just making sure that we tag them with stickers and classify them into tax 3 or tax 4. Class 3 is vacant, class 4 is blighted. It's not about the tax revenue. We want to figure out which of these we can push into productive use as fast as possible. So we are working with the Chairman Mendelson. We're working with Nina Albert, our Deputy Mayor for Planning and Economic Development, and that's one of our major initiatives. Another major initiative is everything to do with plan review and permitting. The Department of Buildings is, as I see it, an essential cog in the center of the economic engine of the city. Right now, we're facing fiscal challenges in the city, as I'm sure you've heard the mayor talk about. And our role is to help people and businesses get to the finish line faster, safely and in compliance, but as quickly as possible so that we can get people up and running, because that's part of what we need to do, not just to maintain a high quality of life for Washingtonians, but to stimulate business, to stimulate activity, to keep things moving. That's where revenues come from, which is what pays for the services that we all care about and need. So that's a major initiative. And then I'd say illegal construction. And Jerome said that he's helping to lead that for us. There are massive problems right now with illegal construction. We have players coming into the city. They don't care. They've gotten away with stuff in the past, and it's not going to happen anymore. So we are recreating our systems to make sure that we are out in front and catching it. If there are players that we identify and we have them, we are going to, I'll just use the word prosecute to the hilt, all the way to the point of, getting them out of the city, can't come back. Now, I'm doing that in concert with not wanting to leave big gaping holes in the ground for 3 years. So there has to be a nuanced approach to this. But I shut a project down 2 weeks ago, and we're going after the architect, the structural engineer, the builder, and the developer. And under my watch and moving forward, illegal construction to that degree is going to become a thing of the past. They are doing things that are dangerous. They are putting property and, frankly, lives at risk. So there may be the occasional somebody builds their deck a little too far out into the yard, or something pops up a little too high, and we'll take care of that. That stuff matters too. But when it comes to property and life, we're going after it hard. So that's the general overview. I'd like to stop now and give you all an opportunity to ask questions, and I'll do my very best to answer them. And of course, I'm Mark Anthony. Mark Anthony is an account manager and an ambassador for the agency. Mark Anthony is always in communities and always receiving input. So I'm glad to have him here with me tonight. And of course, Jerome, if there's a illegal construction question that I can't answer, I may ask Jerome to step in. So there you go. I'll turn the floor over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Director Hammond. Who has a question?
All right. I'll answer yours, but I will, and then we'll go to you, and then you, sir. The question was, how do we know if it's illegal construction? It's a great question. And I'm so glad you asked for this reason too, because I should have said, you all are our eyes and ears. We cannot be everywhere all the time. We can't catch everything. So we are very reliant on citizens and on ANC commissioners and other folks to help be a conduit for us. And if you suspect something is illegal construction, you should report it to 311, and we will be made aware of it. Now, the question was, how do we know? And I would say that when you see construction going on, if there's not a permit that's posted clearly on their front door, it should be in the front of the house, in my opinion. I just did a project at my house. I had to get a permit for my own agency. And just so you know, I did not put my finger on the scale. I let it happen. I wanted to see how long it was going to take. If it's not on the front door, then I would, maybe go around back and see if there's a construction entrance and they might have put it there. But if they don't have a sign up, and if it doesn't have my signature on it, Brian J. Hanlon, then it's illegal construction, or they ripped their permit down. And I want to make sure we did have two questions. Do you want to? Okay.
What would I see on that permit? So outside of your signature, how would I know what they are doing is what?
Great question. There is a description. Now, it's not all inclusive, right? But there is a description of the scope of work, and it'll say, removal of rear facade, new windows, popping up the roof. It'll have a scope of work in there. That's not perfect because, this actual scope of work has got a lot of detail to it. But I would say default to, if you think it might be illegal, go ahead and report it. And we'll get an inspector out there and take a look at it. Jerome, want to add anything?
There is instances like weekends and holidays. Most of those times, at least this year, I looked at the calendar, most of the holidays land on Monday. Like we're talking about major holidays like 4th of July, Emancipation Day, or President's Day. But essentially, if they don't have an after-hours permit for working on those holidays, and they're working on the holidays and on Sundays, then it's illegal. Well, also after 7 o'clock or before 7 o'clock, then that's illegal construction.
Thank you, Jerome. Question.
So I have two questions. The first one, piggybacking on the question she asked, if they're doing work in the back, now you said on the window on the front door, what about if they're doing construction work in the back, but they got the permit posted on the front door? That way you won't be able to see it. And then my second question is neighbor notification. If they're working in proximity of where you live, how would you know? Because I think it's a thing where it's neighbor notification. How would the neighbor get the notice? Because I've had a neighbor to do work on her house, and I didn't get a neighbor's notification ahead of time to know, to prepare myself for the dust and all of the blocking of the alley and all of this kind of stuff.
Okay. So 2 questions. It's a little difficult to answer the first question because forgive me, but the answer depends on, do you have visual access to the back? Is there an alley or a side yard that you can look in? I happen to believe that it's proper to have the permit properly posted and visually obvious on the front of the house. Yeah. Well, that's a problem. And if that's, clearly it's a problem, right? If that's happening, then they're blocking the alley. And that's, is that a public space issue or is it, yeah?
That's DDOT, but for them getting a, the roll-up dumpsters, we can give them a citation for that.
Yeah. So if you see something like that now, neighbor notification is another subject entirely. And first of all, I think neighbors should let their neighbors know when they're doing stuff, just as a courtesy. That's what we all did in the old days. Now, actual legal neighbor notification is only technically required with certain kinds of projects that involve digging, excavation, and things where your neighbor's property may in fact be impacted negatively, or you're doing something that's going to impact your neighbor's property, or if you need to access their property in order to do something on your project. So it's actually a detailed enough subject that it might be worthwhile to maybe do a whole session on just neighbor notification. I would ask that maybe we could do that online. We could do we're going to do a neighbor notification thing, I think, citywide for ANCs. So that's, I don't know what their work is. If they're not digging, they probably didn't technically need to notify. But I basically repaired the masonry in the back of my house with parging and then painted it. And I called my neighbor and said, this work's going on, because it might get dusty. So that's okay. So, sir?
Yeah, in regards to clarification, one thing is, I would say, let's skip through that. Just go through this part. So clarification in regards to your department, because I know you're from general service. I had like a kind of like general service and DC Parks and Rec. That relationship that general service oversees department and rec project. So, but I'm gonna keep it. I was gonna ask you something with that, but I'll keep it to where your position is now. So your position, can you clarify? There's two agencies, right? One agency oversees the one, and what's your agency oversees again?
The Department of Buildings oversees the regulatory side of the built environment.
Okay.
It's plan review, permitting, code enforcement, zoning regulation, and we also have an Office of Residential Inspection. So when there are commercial commercial buildings that have residential rentals, inspect those to make sure that they're maintaining a safe and habitable environment. And the Department of Licensing and Consumer Protection, which I think is your question, they do business licensing. So if you're like, I'm an architect, I have to get a license as an architect. I would go to them and get my license. So it's all business licensing related.
Okay. So let me ask you a question in regard to your part. Do you oversee commercial and residential, or just residential enforcement part?
Every single thing that gets built in Washington D.C. falls under our purview.
So a perfect example, okay. Do you break down your inspectors by wards, or do you have a certain amount? Because I had a problem with a property next to my house, and there was a lot of illegal activity going on from start to finish in regards to dumpsters, quarter packs, fencing around the property, and displaying permits.
Okay. And
that was ongoing, and seemed like they was operating around the inspector, and it was just seemed illegal. So that was the question. How many inspectors do you have full time with your agency?
I don't actually have in my head right now the exact full count, but we can get you an answer. But no, they're not. Our construction inspectors and our illegal construction inspectors are not deployed by ward.
Okay.
It's
you got a roughly draft how many inspectors you got?
Yeah. I just don't have the exact number in my head.
Do you also use contractor as well?
We have third-party inspectors, yes.
Third-party inspectors,
yes, and then we conduct oversight of the third-party inspectors to make sure. Yes.
Okay. To make sure they're in compliance.
Correct.
And then when it comes down to that's the last question, I'll come back for my follow-up question. In regards to these homes that are adding a third level, what is the process of that in regards to it seems that, they can get permission from one tenant to say that's okay, and then they force the other tenant. You know, so what is the process of adding, a third floor to a residential? Does it be agency commissioners? How's that go? How do you enforce that?
Okay, let me walk through the whole process.
Thoroughly.
I'm going to answer it as best I can. If a homeowner wants to add, or they do want to do a pop-up, they want to build an extra level on their house,
Okay.
the first thing they would do is hire a design professional. And hopefully you got a good design professional, and they're going to say, okay, you're on this street, in this zone, these zoning regulations apply, and you have you are by right allowed to add X number of square feet to your property and to go up, so high. So there's a by right will define how much footprint you can add, or how high you can go, or how many square feet you can add. So there's all these three. There's lot coverage, there's total square feet, and then there's height. And there are other zoning regulations in there. Now, one of the things that happens all the time is that people may not by right be able to do a pop-up or do something like that, but they can propose a design and then take it to the Board of Zoning Appeals and have their case heard, and the BZA will review and sometimes approve a project that is outside of the specific zoning regulations. They'll sometimes approve if it's within reason. So that's the general process. And I'd say that, it starts with, in my opinion, hiring a good design professional, good architect who knows what they're talking about. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, generally, basically, you already have some code, it complies with that, but once it goes through,
If it's not by right, it has to go to the BZA to be heard, and then an ANC commissioner. We deal with ANC commissioners all over the city that track every single project. How new are you, Commissioner Anna? Okay, so we should actually I was on the phone last week. Well, actually, we met in person. Commissioner Tricia Duncan. She's in Ward 3. Actually, I think it was an online meeting. I can't tell anymore because I have so many meetings. But she looks at projects all the time that are coming in the pipeline. So she's got a heads up. And she's got people that actually are so well versed in code and zoning regulations that they will start to screen for the projects that they think are going to be problematic in their neighborhood. So she's actually a good resource if you want to reach out to her. But certainly, I'd say call us and we'll try to get somebody to help you kind of figure out how to see that portal. Yes.
Just piggybacking on the inspector process, by the time the inspectors come out to check the project, it's almost finished, or it's finished. Because you have to go online, make an appointment, say why you make an appointment, and by the time they give you a date to send the inspector out, the project is almost finished, or finished.
Well, I've heard that our scheduling is problematic at times. Well, I don't know what the average is, but I think we get out to most inspections are scheduled within several days. Now, yeah.
They come out, like I said, job inspector is finished. And I had one inspector to tell me, well, they came out and said, oh, it's finished. Can't even stop the work. There's nothing we can do.
Well, yeah. Yeah. It's hard for me to respond specifically because do you have a specific address or an example? Well, you can whistle blow later. You don't have to say it now. She's not a whistleblower, for those folks watching at home. But if you have a story to tell, so, any more questions?
So I don't really have a question. It's I just wanted to share my experience. So we bought a house on Montello, and it was under construction for several months. The permit process was very smooth. I think it took us, I mean, everybody was terrorizing me, thought it would take like 8 months, but I think it took maybe a month and a half, so that was good.
That's about what it should be.
Yeah. So the inspections, there were, I think, like maybe 4 inspections before the final one, and they all went smoothly because we did everything according to code. I had real professionals, you know, the architects, the contractor, everybody was professional. So the problem that we had was at the end, the final inspection, which after we had done everything and finished the project, the final inspector came and told us that we needed sprinklers at the end, which...
Why did you need sprinklers in a house?
I don't know. So he failed the inspection, which, you know, delayed. And I think I emailed you. I don't know if you remember, Mark Anthony. And you and Hazel. Yeah. So you guys were able to help me. So I just wanted to thank you. But so finally they realized that it was a mistake, and they finally passed the inspection, but it took months. And so in the meanwhile, we're paying the mortgage. Of course, we couldn't move in. So, I mean, it was things like this that sort of, you know, kept delaying the project. So just wanted to share that.
That's a great study. And, you know, I will say this, and first of all, I'm sorry that happened to you. It's a pain. And I'm sorry it cost you money and time and probably a lot of heartache. We brought in a new chief of construction inspections in November, and his name's he probably doesn't want me to give his name out. Jeffrey Reese is his name, and then he's great. He knows the code inside and out. And I was driving up to a building with him and another individual, and a similar thing had happened. And it was for a school, and the code, you know, sometimes construction inspectors get it wrong. What we need to do a better job of is when the design professional says, wait, no, that's not what the code says. And so Jeff and I talked about this, and he's fully on board. He solved that problem in 5 minutes. Because he saw the problem. He saw that they were requiring a second exit sign in a room that didn't require a second exit sign, and he corrected it. Unfortunately, that didn't happen in your case. When did this get resolved, by the way?
I believe sometime, I can't remember. Do you remember? I know Commissioner was who helped me a lot to connect me with
But this past year?
Yeah. It was a few months back.
So one of the things that I spoke with Jeff about after, you know, I was listening in real time as this was happening was when a design professional says, wait, that's not what the code says, we can't just dig our heels in. We have to listen and then go internally and just double check it. Because what ended up happening to you was, unfortunately, somebody dug their heels in. No, you got to have sprinklers. That's why my first question was, why are they making you sprinkler a house? So I'm sorry that happened. And we're going to try to prevent stuff like that from happening in the future.
So with new development, they don't require.
Depends on the size and scale, the type and use of the building. But if you're building a house, just a regular house, you might want to sprinkler it just for your own, your insurance rates will go down, but there's no requirement to sprinkler it. No question. Yeah. Yeah. One thing that we're also working on, just so you know, is the project intake and the plan review process is to actually re-engineer that a little bit so that the project intake, the forms, the drawings, the online stuff is formatted in a way that helps us identify where the tripping points might be. And that's a project that's currently underway for us, which will help, I think, reduce downstream problems that occur. But there's a lot of, at the end of the day, no process is perfect. But in my book, when someone says this isn't required by code, I think it's worthy of stopping and dialoguing about it. And, somebody's wrong, and we can figure it out. And nobody has to be defensive about it. So, yes.
I guess in reference to that, I'd be curious to know, is there like a formal appeal process that's in place right now for someone like her situation? If it's like,
that's a really good question, and I don't know.
I think that would be
and
ideal
I think
to
that,
have.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What I'd prefer, but I don't mind that idea at all.
Mm-hmm.
What I'd prefer is just the people have their own human appeal process, which is, oh, let me look it up. Oh, you're right. You're good. Problem solved. Took half an hour. You add another step in. I got to do rulemaking. It takes 6 months or a year and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But it's a good idea. It's worthy of consideration.
My question I really had was, I've seen you speak on how you are really hoping to push the illegal construction process or eliminating illegal construction in DC. And as residents, I'm a healthcare provider. If someone told me it was illegal construction, I would have no idea what somebody's talking about, if that makes any sense. So I know DOB has recently created like a step-by-step guide that you all have on your website on like, this is how you schedule an inspection, when you should call to schedule an inspection. And the guide has been very effective because we used to live in an apartment complex that's really benefiting from that guide now. For illegal construction, do y'all have like a one-pager? Like, this is what you should look for. This is what you should look out for.
We will.
Yeah, I think that would be very helpful.
We're about to unveil a whole lot of new materials.
Okay, awesome.
And that's a great idea.
I look forward to that.
Yeah, that's an easy one. I don't have to do rulemaking for that.
You got some questions from me. I'm the ANC commissioner in Northern Trinidad, and we have a boatload of illegal construction sometimes, and alongside our neighbors in Ivy City. Neighbors are really good at reporting it. They're really good at noticing.
Sorry, how do I do that? I'm an iPhone guy.
It sounds like it's probably taken care of.
All right.
Okay, cool. We report the illegal construction, and we will have someone come out, but there seems to be a disconnect with enforcement in terms of your agency working maybe with the Metropolitan Police Department or other folks to actually enforce the stop orders. We have a terrible habit of people not following those stop orders when they've been determined that, yes, illegal construction is occurring here, but the next day the folks will come back and continue. What is something that you foresee in the future that potentially can resolve those issues?
Well, first of all, you changed my life because now I'm not on speaker anymore. So thank you, because that was driving me crazy. I think it's worth dissecting that a bit.
Okay.
And let me just first say, Alex Cross is our Chief Special Projects Officer. He is managing a process of industry-wide, citywide intake of ideas, and that we then need to consider and figure out how to operationalize. So rather than just try to answer your question now, and I'll try to answer it a bit, but I actually want to encourage you to get back in touch with us.
Okay.
And I want to connect you with Alex. Okay. And his team. The whole illegal construction realm is something that, I'm going to hit my 1-year mark in May. And it's been bubbling up to me since I started in May. And, when you come into an organization, you need to assess it first. You need to see what's going on. You need to get a feel for it. And I've seen a number of things that have distressed me. And what I saw several weeks ago went beyond that. And so we had already begun an internal process of figuring out how do we improve this ecosystem, this illegal construction ecosystem. But there's work to be done. And I think that, I think I'd really love to have you connect with Alex Cross, and offer your thoughts on how we can do a better job of following up on stuff like that.
Okay.
So if you're willing to do that.
Yeah, no problem. I'm an ANC commissioner. Got to do that. Touching on that though, when it comes to inspections in general of the properties, one recommendation I would have for folks that you have coming out into our block and inspecting these properties, maybe open up the more potential for bilingual inspectors.
Yeah, great idea.
A lot of the property owners, particularly property owners, not developers, they have money to get, they have a lot more funds than just your regular homeowner trying to redo something. A lot of the folks in DC will use my brothers and sisters, to cut budget costs, to do the property construction, what have you. Majority of the time, either they play dumb on the monolingual Spanish part or not, but the communication is not directly available in terms of them talking to the inspector or what have you. So whatever reason it is. So maybe just in the future to take into account getting more bilingual or multilingual folks that can speak, maybe with the people on the ground on those sites, just to get the message across.
Amen.
Because going back into that legal construction issue, I'm pretty quick at noticing it, but I have a privilege to be able to speak another language, to actually speak to some of these folks, and I'll talk to them like, hey, you can't be doing this, you need to do that. Not everyone has that ability, right? So majority of the time, just because they don't want their paycheck messed with, they will come back the next day and continue to work.
Yeah.
So just take that into account for the future when it comes to maybe helping us a little bit on this front.
Yeah, I will. And I'll say, first of all, I fully agree. Mm-hmm. And that, I think we have done a much better job of opening up language access, but we have work to do. And we only have right now just a few Spanish-speaking folks in the agency.
In DC, across the board, that's a big issue in general.
Yeah, I mean, DOB, it's not because we're not looking. But we have to do a better job of getting folks in, mm-hmm. and I am 100% open to that. The other thing that I want to say, which is a little bit outside of your question, is, folks from Central and South America that are coming up here. I've been on some construction sites, and I see them being asked to do things that most people wouldn't put themselves in a position to do, mm-hmm. and they are willing to do it. Mm-hmm. And in my opinion, the general contractor, if there is one, or the developer needs to be held accountable. I see them, my first project at DOB was in on O Street in Southeast, and I got out of my car and I walked up, and there were like 5 guys. Nobody spoke English, and I didn't have my badge yet, and they didn't know who I was. But I whipped out my DOB QR code card, and they kind of looked at it. There was almost 10 feet of sheer excavation, about 2 feet away from a foundation wall they were framing up. And there wasn't any sheeting and shoring to hold back the earth. They're crawling around in there. And nothing collapsed, but it could have.
Yeah.
And so we shut it down, but that's the kind of thing we see. And I'm not even sure what the right word is. It angers me. It rankles me to see that sort of disregard. And I'm also open to figuring out how do we get the message out to folks that don't speak English as a first language. And I think in Washington, D.C., most of those folks probably speak Spanish. To not put them, like, it's hard for them to say no.
Right. They need to put bread on the table.
So it's a tough issue, and we got to figure that one out. But the first thing is holding builders and developers accountable for doing things the right way.
So my final question, going on this bad actors piece, we have a lot of vacant properties in Trinidad. Trinidad is one of the biggest neighborhoods in Ward 5, and we do have a large amount of vacant properties. We tend to see these vacant properties being bought up by banks or rebought by banks that developers originally had and whatnot. So they become nuisance properties eventually.
Yeah.
Just in Montello, in these last 6 months, we've had 2 properties that had fires because we had squatters trying to just retain some heat, just, doing something stupid, lighting a wooden home on fire, which is a smart decision, right? But if it's cold, it's cold. I believe housing is a human right, but once you start doing those kind of things, you're obviously attracting bad actions and doing things that's going to affect other people on that block. Some of these properties, I see the same names over and over again. What can DOB do in the future? What can DOB do in the future to kind of, stop these folks from repeatedly finding themselves in these kind of situations?
Well, there's a lot of stuff in that question.
Yeah.
And our role is going to be focused, frankly, on if there are squatters. And I'll give you sort of a typical situation. Whenever we are displacing people from a residence, even if they're squatters, we are in communication with MPD, if appropriate, the Office of the Tenant Advocate, and Department of Health and Human Services. We're talking to all of them. When there are squatters, I've had inspectors get guns pulled on them.
I bet.
And they have hard jobs, the inspectors do. So we are working in concert with other agencies to do this stuff. And if you suspect a property has people in it, and it shouldn't, I want you to call us, and we'll get out there and we can work to secure the exterior. It's not perfect,
right?
Because you can break anything out, but
right.
We'll try to secure the exterior after it's been properly cleared.
And just to finish on that piece, I'll give it back to the audience. Is that the only time you're working with maybe MPD on in terms of those situations? Mr. Sullivan has been doing great work in terms of trying to keep some of these properties secured.
Yeah.
But it's not easy, as we know. Where do you see maybe DOB in the future trying to bring in another agency or MPD, for example, to be like, this property is just too much for us to handle? I need to pass it to the OAG or somebody else. When does that come into play?
Well, that's another hour. We want these properties to go into productive use as quickly as possible. When they have become nuisance properties, I think we as an agency need to accelerate the earlier, I think we have some properties. I mean, I think we had 1,500 properties last year move off the vacant and blighted back into productive use. I'm proud of that number. But when you go to the database, by the way, quick commercial, dob.dc.gov. It's .gov? .gov, yeah. It's not a com. Go to our dashboard, dob.dc.gov. Go to our dashboard, about DOB, public dashboard. You go in there, you can click the link for vacant and blighted properties, and you can see them all. Some of these buildings have been vacant or blighted for several years. And at that point, I see that and my head explodes. I see that and I'm like, let's get this thing. So one of the things that we've done, and I'm working, again, Mr. Cross, Alex Cross, with him, we've actually, every vacant and blighted building has its own story. We don't want to treat them all the same. Some are owned by families that are down on their luck. They've got issues. I'm not going to hammer them. We want to figure out how to help them to the degree that we can. But there's a subset of properties that avail themselves to redevelopment. And right now, in our inventory of about 3,600 or so vacant and blighted properties, there's 200 to 300 properties where we think we could probably work with the ownership group and get this thing renovated and back into use as a house. So we're working hard on that. The properties that are on the more problematic side of the spectrum, we have limited authority, but we do refer them to the board. This is a long one. The Board for Condemnation of Insanitary Buildings, the BCIB. And if it gets condemned by BCIB, it doesn't mean the building's going to get torn down. It doesn't mean it puts the onus back on the owner to get the thing figured out, to get it, fully abated, to get it back into productive use. It puts more pressure on them where it can actually eventually be sold in like a tax sale. So that's a process that I want to shorten the time frame from it's classified to referral to BCIB so that they're not sitting there for 3, 4, 5 years. So we're working on that. And I think we're at 7, Commissioner, and I want to be commissioners. I want to be mindful because you have other folks here that are going to speak. And I've appreciated the opportunity to come in and meet with you. I hope I answered most of your questions. Those that I wasn't able to answer, we're going to do follow-ups on. Feel free to. And we could do another online call to talk about some of these more meaty issues, get a little bit more into depth. Thank you, Commissioner Anna. Thank you. I'm doing the ASL clap. Thank you. What do I do with this thing now? Thank you so much. Is this your phone?
No, it's so much. Do we have your card or something? Is there a way to contact you?
My card.
Thank you so much. So thank you so much to our guests, Mark Anthony and Director Hanlon. So now we have Amanda Schmidt, Principal of Wheatley Elementary, and Qualitua Brown, her Assistant Principal. Come on, thank you so much. And thanks so much for being here, Amanda.
Look into this?
Yeah.
Okay. Can I fold it like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I know it's late and many of you have had long days, so thank you so much for welcoming me to your meeting. My name is Amanda Schmidt. I am the very proud principal here at Wheatley Education Campus. My assistant principal should be joining us momentarily. She's just actually assisting one of our families outside right now. So both AP Brown and I are new to the Wheatley community. I've actually been here almost a year to the day. Now, I was appointed interim here when the previous principal, Dr. Shanora Plenty, had to go out on medical leave. And I guess I was okay enough, so they let me hang around. But I am super excited to be a part of the Wheatley community. I felt instantly at home as soon as I came here. Wheatley is an amazing school with a great staff and tremendous, tremendous kids who make me smile every single day. So I come to you from, I spent most of my time at H.D. Woodson as an assistant principal there. I was an assistant principal for about 5 years there. And then last school year, I decided to take the big leap into the big shoes of principal. So I was accepted into a principal residency program where I served over at McFarland Middle School until I came here in March. And then before I was at HD, I was over at Cesar Chavez right around the corner. So I've spent most of my time in DC in this neighborhood here. I would describe Wheatley right now as a school on the move. Before COVID, Wheatley showed significant progress in growth every single year. But if you look at the data, COVID hit the school pretty hard. And the data did show a decrease around the time of the pandemic, just like basically every school in the country. Just like in all metrics all around. So like academics suffered, attendance suffered. And so when we came back in person, we saw that things started to grow and get stronger. And then unfortunately last school year, Dr. Plenty had some medical issues, which required her to take leave twice, once at the beginning of the year and then once when I came in the spring. And so last school year was a year of change. It was a year of trials and tribulations. The school lost, they had the death of like a beloved custodian who had been here for many years and formed very close bonds with the school community. So when I came in the spring, it was really just around like triaging and making sure that we closed out the school year strong. And at this point, we are, AP Brown and I are very aligned, and that Wheatley is going to be a highly performing school very, very soon. So my laser-like focus is on proficiency, right? So I say growth is good, growth should be celebrated, but we are getting all 386 kids into the green and sending them off to high school prepared and ready to go. And really doing that is through being strategic, right? And so we are extremely strategic in how we support our teachers and making sure that our staff has everything that they need in order to get these kids to where they need to go. And so we do a lot of focus around training and support for teachers, understanding and trying to really listen to what teachers and staff need in order to provide the best instruction possible for our students. And then the other main vein that we really focus on is making sure that every child feels like they belong at Wheatley and that they feel loved while they're at school. There's a place for them to connect. There's a trusted adult that they can turn to because we know that when kids feel safe and when they feel comfortable, they are able to learn. So we have focused a lot around social emotional learning, around helping kids connect with one another and with themselves. And then also just helping them feel like they are a part of our school community. And so through doing those two things, we're already seeing some traction, especially in our academic data in our elementary school. At this time last year, there were 0 kids in the proficiency bands, and now we're just at about 25% in each of our elementary school grade levels. So we are seeing that traction start to pick up. For me, that's never ever good enough, right? That means we still have 75% of our kids that we got to move. And so I will not sleep until we get all of those kids there. But I do feel very supported by the community here at Wheatley. You can find me every morning, right, Grandma? Every morning, I'm standing out front, and every dismissal, we're out there as well. Hey. And so I know, how are you doing tonight? No. And so I do feel very connected to this community. And I feel that we have built pretty strong bonds with our families and our people that we interact with every single day. So that's one of the reasons why I do feel like I'm at home here at Wheatley. There's a few times in your life, this sounds so corny, but there's a few times in your life where you like can take that deep breath and know that you are doing what you're supposed to be doing and you're in the right place and you have the right people around you to do that work. And that's how I feel when I'm here at Wheatley. So I'm going to allow my talented, I feel weird sitting in front of you. I'm going to allow the talented and beautiful Miss Chloe Brown to introduce herself. I guess you're supposed to hold this.
Okay, hi. My name
You
is.
have to hold it up. It's corny.
I can just put it here. Okay. Sorry, I don't know what this is. Hi, my name is Chloe Brown. I'm the assistant principal here at Wheatley. This is my first year at Wheatley. It is my 8th year in DC education. It's my 3rd year as an assistant principal and my 1st year overall at DCPS. I live in Ward 5, unfortunately not in Trinidad. I live in Brooklyn, but I live up the street, so we're all neighbors in some way, shape, or form. You'll see me cut through the giant parking lot to get here on time. And I'm really honored to be here. I'm really honored to work alongside Principal Schmidt and really happy to always serve our students and families. And we somehow have a student in the back of the room right now, but that's okay because we love the kids. So we will get baby home and keep it moving. But it's really nice to be here with y'all tonight.
So I guess that's our little spiel, but we would love to just open it up for any questions or feedback or thoughts from the group.
I have one question in the chat. Thank you for your time tonight. How are you assessing SEL and sense of belonging for students? And since this is the ANC meeting, an advisory neighborhood commission meeting, I'll just say we don't like acronyms. So just if you could just clarify what SEL is, that would be perfect.
Sure, yeah, my apologies. So SEL stands for social emotional learning, and we assess how students feel at school twice a year, once in the fall and once in the spring, through a district administered survey called the Panorama Survey. We're actually giving it right now, I think, for the window opened on Friday. And so that is given to students in grades 3 through 8, and it asks them various questions about how they feel in the school, how they interact with adults in the school, if they feel that they have a place to connect, and if there's activities there that help ground them in the school. And so since the spring, we saw a 9% increase in our Panorama data from last school year, and we're hoping to at least double that between now and the end of the school year. It's not on the computer. It's written on the computer. Yeah. Yep. Now, I will say, like our 3rd graders have never taken assessments like that before. So we do a lot of work, particularly with our younger students, on helping them unpack what the question is actually asking them, right? Because the same questions are given to kids from 3rd grade all the way up until their senior year. So some of the work that we did with the kids between the fall and the spring was just helping them understand, one, why we're even giving them this survey, and then 2, helping them understand what it is that we're asking and how we're going to use the information that we get from them.
Being done across the board with DCPS or just at Wheatley?
It's done across the board with DCPS, but AP Brown and I felt like we needed more information than what was just being given on the survey. So we crafted our own like in-house Wheatley information gathering tools for both families and for parents so that we could get a more specific pulse check, especially when we saw the fall results. There were some things that I just wanted more information about. So we have our own internal ones. And then we also do we do our own little like staff panorama. I guess that's what you call it. We do like a staff panorama too, to make sure that we give it out once a month to make sure that our staff is giving us feedback on support and what they need, because we want, you know, them to feel like they're welcomed and loved at school too.
We have a question. I know you guys are doing a fantastic job, because my grandsons, they come to school, they want to get there when y'all open, and then they want to leave when y'all close. So that's a good sign that y'all are doing a great job. My question is about the school lunch, because a lot of times Eric, he's kind of like a little picky eater. He always say, "Oh, the school lunch is you know, horrible because it's not what he likes to eat. He likes a lot of salads and stuff." So I was wondering, anything that could be done about the school lunch? Because I know when President Miss Obama came out with this whole new thing with the lunch thing, and so I don't know if that has something to do with it. But since then, they're just not filling the lunch too much.
Yeah, I don't want to, yeah, go ahead. I need a little mic, so. Oh, my bad.
Yes. So Michelle Obama did implement the Healthy Access to School Act. It basically limits what you can and can't give kids in school. Some of those things are amazing. Like, we can't feed the kids candy all day, but some of those things to children feel a little bit silly. Like, we can't give kids chocolate milk because flavored milk is on the list of things kids can't have. Recently, that law has expired. We currently have, DCPS isn't going rogue, but we do have a new food vendor effective today, actually.
It's really good.
Yeah, she did. She ate that. I was like, what are you doing? But effective today, our new food vendor is Aramark. The food the kids have had, I'm going to be honest, it has been kid friendly up until this point. They eat lots of chicken nuggets, grilled cheese, and all types of things. But what Aramark has brought in is the options of salads every day. So baby should see some improve there. I don't know where we're going with chocolate milk. I haven't seen that yet. I don't think we're going there, but we do have a new food vendor effective today. They will be on site, I believe, through Thursday, just making sure everything's up and running, that we have like the right temperature heaters, warmers to account for the new food. But at lunch today, the kids had tacos, quesadillas. There was a tie situation, and there was nothing left. So I assume that the kids really did enjoy the lunch today. There are some days where kids have more lunch options than others. So there are some days where like the option of the day may be pizza and a vegan option. There are days like today where they had 5,000 options. There was tacos, there was Thai, there was pizza, there was salad, there was some butter and jelly. We don't have a ton of control over that, but when I spoke to the woman from Aramark today, I did ask her, could there always just be 2 to 3 options? If a kid doesn't like grilled cheese, can they have something else? Because we do have a group of kids who are vegan and vegetarian, and we're actually about to approach Ramadan for some of our students too, so there's a lot going on. Just to make sure that like all kids are getting something that they want. Most of our kids don't bring lunch. We have like a couple kids who have Lunchables here and there, but for the most part, our kids do eat school lunch. So we just want to make sure that food isn't being wasted because they don't like it.
Question?
Jackson, alumni.
The warrior, always a warrior.
Yeah. Back when they had the tower. Right?
You have tower power. Yeah.
All right, so I have a question in regards to, I used to be a PTA president.
Hi, I'm sorry to interrupt. This is the interpreter speaking. I can't hear the question.
PTA president? And what is that person doing?
So our PTA actually is going through a whole revamp process.
Yeah.
We just changed our name to an SBO, so we're called the School
I'm sorry, this
Community
is the interpreter speaking.
We wanted to reflect something that
School
was
what?
School Community Organization.
Okay.
A lot of our students don't necessarily live, or their care doesn't necessarily come from their parents.
Yeah.
It could be a grandma, auntie, or uncle. So we didn't necessarily want the name PTA for Parent Teacher Association to discourage anyone who's providing for our kids to come. So we just changed the name to School Community Organization, but it is the equivalent of a PTA.
Do you have a president?
Yes.
Salkis, ONNCALK.
And what about, we would be able to get that name and their number or something?
Yeah, we can give you their email.
And the SCO has their own email address that they just set up, so we
Okay.
can give out the SCO email address. And,
Okay, will you give it out? It's on a couple of these right now. Can you give
sure,
it
I mean,
out?
I can't type it right now, but as soon as I'm done.
Oh, okay, okay. So we do have a PTA, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
every week.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm gonna plug it, we're selling yard signs and T-shirts, so if anybody, yeah. Yeah, yep, they're all in the main office.
Yeah. Oh, we put them in the closet
Oh,
though.
put them in
They're
the
they're in the main office, but in the closet.
Back to the PTA, is the PTA position, is that an elected position or do
Yes, it's elected.
Yes.
So they held an election?
Yep.
And voted PTA, all right, okay?
SCO, School Community Organization.
Yeah, with Wheatley in front. Wheatley School Community Organization. Yep.
Okay, the other question is, do Wheatley School, or do Wheatley School partner with any other organization outside? Are y'all in partnership with any organization? What organization would that be?
So we're in partnership with an organization called Brighter Bite.
Okay.
They are an organization that provides free food, fresh food. They come, is it once a month or once every other week?
I feel like I see them all. Yeah, I feel like I see them all the time. They're always out when they come here.
So we do partner with them. We partner with a couple of academic groups as well that provide tutoring.
And what's their name?
The Literacy Lab is
Okay.
one, probably the biggest one that we use, and then we also use Once Early Reading.
We also partner with the Flamboyant Foundation. They're a foundation that kind of bridges the relationship between school and home on a 5-year cycle. So the first year or 2 years of that program is more so them coming into the school, looking for ways we can refine and just invite families in. The 3rd and 4th year of that program is them kind of bridging what's happening with school and home academically. So whether that's like strategies in schools and things like that. We also partner with a couple of law firms in the city, one being Forbes and Tate. They sponsor our annual toy drive for the kiddos. Every December, all of our kids go home with multiple toys, like literally a shopping bag of toys. Our middle schoolers go home with American Express gift cards. And then we partner with another law firm, Shepherd Mullen. They do a similar idea as the toy drive, but they do clothing and food for over winter break. So they provide clothing, food. They supported with the Scholastic Book Fair, and they loaded kind of money onto just the book fair portal for kids who maybe didn't have money for the book fair. And they are partnering with us for Career Day coming up on May 23rd.
Our organization that may be interesting. Our organization that might be interested in school, what is the process? Them actually having a interview with you and going through the process of being heard. What is the process of that?
Sure.
The reason I say that because I mentioned I've tried to call you several times, and then the organization that also is interested in partnering with you have tried to call you several times, and we haven't got a response.
Okay, well, I apologize for that. So right now, I'm actually in the process of revisiting all of our partners. This is my first year here, so I just inherited everything that was already here. So we are actually going through and like auditing what we think is going to be the most beneficial for kids. I'm a big believer on like quality over quantity, right? So I get reached out to probably about 1.5 million times a day. For people asking to partner with the school, which I'm really grateful for and thankful for, but I want to make sure that they are the best fit for our kids and for the mission and what we're driving for with the school. So right now we're in the middle of the process. So if you wanted to connect with me, now would be a great time to do so. We're talking a lot around what we want next school year to look like. So I can either connect with you after this meeting here if you wanted to just give me more information, or we can lock in a time on the calendar. Sure, I'll return phone call.
I think it sounds like this would maybe be a new partnership. All new partnerships have to go through the DCPS partnership and donor process. I'm not completely sure what that looks like, but I can work on getting you with the expert in the back. Yeah, no, but you said with the idea of like wanting to work together. So for us to even get there, it has to go through DCPS and comms. And once it does that, then like we have the authority to say, oh, this organization has been cleared, the school can work with them. Yes, but your question was around how we can work as a partnership, and I just wanted to make sure you knew, yeah, there's a whole. Yes, no, I understand that, but you said there were you and multiple partners who were interested in partnering with the school.
But that wasn't indicated on the phone. We asked for two principals.
So we will definitely be.
Yeah.
What's your,
Give me a friend.
you need a what?
Hi. As individual volunteers who may be interested, who are just living in the neighborhood, fifth district, 5D03. For individuals who are just interested in volunteering, I'm sure there's a background check process and all of that stuff. Would I just go on DCPS website? Because I know in the past I've wanted to, but I think I got assigned to like a school in like Ward 1, and I'm like, that's great, but like I would love to be like local, close to the community. What would that process be if I went through the background process? If I did everything else, how would I be able to be attached to you all and not? Because I know, yes, they're doing fairness for everyone, but what is that process like? Are you all familiar? That's all I have. Thank you. Yeah, sure, of course. Of course. I think the easiest thing we could do is connect you with our PTA. They are here all the time. But, our SCO. Sorry, the name change just happened. But they do a ton of, so we don't actually have a like park, so to speak. So for recess, our kids actually use Joseph Cole Park, like right behind the school. So they do tons of like park cleanups and things like that. And they're always on a Saturday morning. They're always looking for that. And then a couple of our SCO members own different like businesses within the community on H Street and Union Market. So they're always thinking about like how can they contribute other things. So I think if we could get y'all that email, I don't know if we're gonna like drop it in the chat or how we're gonna get it to y'all, but they are phenomenal and they would happily accept any help that comes their way. It's a certain Saturday. They keep it the same so that it doesn't change, but they do it once a month. Yeah. Anything else? We know where to find you.
I know where to
right
find
there. You just run up
No questions, but maybe us as the A&T commission might follow up on an offer on your library, which is fine for the future. But thank you all for coming out tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah. If y'all want to have this in the library next time, let us know.
I
We
think
can.
that would be a better space if we did it. There's internet and better sound and
We can get you a projector.
yeah. So we can put this instead of being on.
That would be really great. Yeah, we got y'all. You can use the library. SCO uses it second Tuesday of the month, second Thursday of the month. Any day that's not that, it's fine.
That's fantastic.
Anytime when you come to drop off or pick up, just let me know and I can bring you in the office.
Mhm.
We can get you picked up. Yep. I think the yard sign is 15 and the shirt is either 20 or 25, but all the proceeds go back into the SCO.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're trying to get more yard signs out than JO will. Yeah, I can see it at the top of your stairs.
Are there any questions in the chat? I just want to make sure we got everybody. Okay, thank you. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Anna, did you want to, you can turn that one off. We can use this. Yeah, that one's off this one. Okay. So that was all for our presenters today. And we'll have these final questions, final couple minutes for questions from you all, as this is your ANC commissioners. Friendly reminder, 5D04 is Central Trinidad. That ANC commissioner typically can't make the time, but 5D05, Northern Trinidad, Southern Trinidad, Commissioner Roblin, that's what these meetings are for all of Trinidad. I think we actually technically have 5 ANC commissioners that touch the neighborhood. So we figured at least some of us can come. We can make yourself available to you all. So if there's any questions outside of what the presenters discussed tonight, if there's anything pressing that you all needed to address as your ANCs, we're open to anything tonight.
What are the other? Not that I don't love beautifying the neighborhood, but I have to ease myself into trash pickup because my last experience was awful. But what are the other committees that are currently available if we were interested
They can hold that phone. We can use the laptop on the mic.
Yes. What were the other committees that were interested that we were interested
So for
in?
those that couldn't hear, the question is, what other committees are available on the commission as of today? Great question. So I'll start with our most robust committee, especially for those that are interested in properties and developments coming into the area. That's our zoning committee. They meet every third Thursday of the month. That is our most robust committee in the commission. Our zoning chair, Kevin Horgan, is a phenomenal resource for our community. He's very well versed in a lot of projects and how they come from start to finish on a lot of the code. They meet, I believe it's at 7:30. You can find the direct information on our website.
Every third Thursday.
Every third Thursday, it's via Zoom.
At 7:30.
Yes. So they also, if you want to represent your specific single member district, which for those that are not familiar, single member districts are what we represent individually. We do look for committee members just to make a conscious effort to attend those meetings and just speak on behalf of the area. So if you're interested in that, let me know. JC, if you're interested, you can represent us on 5D05. That's our most robust one. The remaining committees are Trash and Beautification. Commissioner Roblin's leading that effort. We also have Transportation. Commissioner Reed May is leading that effort. We just held an open house at Trinidad Rec Center this past Saturday on the improvements that are coming along Mount Olivet and 17th Street. For those of you that drive might have been noticing that right now, both lanes going each way on Mount Olivet are currently open.
Oh, yes.
It's temporary. Yeah, had to make that note. It's temporary because starting in the summer, they're eventually going to be working on the street to make it one lane each way. And they're going to be completely redoing all the crosswalks. They're going to be a lot more better for safety, and they're installing bike lanes off of Mount Olivet and 17th Street. Bike lanes has a negative connotation in our neighborhood because when they did the project in West Virginia, it was terrible. And they removed a lot of parking on West Virginia. But believe it or not, the project on Mount Olivet is actually adding 20 parking spaces. Currently at this time, there is no parking whatsoever on Mount Olivet. And they're adding these parking spaces for the KIPP Elementary School. As you might know, if you ever pass by there around 3 o'clock, a lot of folks are dropping off, picking up their kids. Also in the morning, but they're adding those parking spaces just to make it more easily accessible for parents just to be safe when they're, literally picking up their children. So if you want more details on that project, let me know. There is a recorded YouTube video online of the project itself from January, I believe, when they presented with us at the ANC last time. But the project itself, I'll speak on it because I care a lot about Mount Olivet specifically. I think it's a good project. We gave our feedback on some small little changes that we were looking at, but I'm really excited just to see much, much, much better crosswalks on Mount Olivet because it's a high traffic street. A lot of people cut through there, especially during rush hour in the afternoon. So they're making it safer. It might be just a smidge more congested because they're going back to one lanes, but take advantage of the 2 lanes right now as much as you can because starting in the summer, that's when that transition will most likely happen. So we have trash and beautification, we have zoning, we have transportation,
Environment.
and environment. Environment is being led by Commissioner Sabrina Rhodes. She's doing some great segues in terms of getting the chemical plant addressed in Ivy City, alongside of a lot of the, what is the word, not hazardous air pollution, but a lot of the, I'm going blank on this word, but Ward 5 has been a big dumping ground for a lot of, I guess, a lot of businesses that do a lot of like more more large construction matters. And oh, sorry. And Commissioner Rhodes has been addressing a lot of those concerns, specifically in Ivy City and Trinidad, because there are parts, this was a lot in Ivy City actually, because here in Trinidad we have a lot of trees. Neighborhoods like Ivy City do not, so they tend to be heat zones. So those environmental impacts she's addressing through our environmental committee. So if you're interested in one specific one, let us know. We can always connect you all. I myself, outside of my ANC hat, I represent the citizens, I'm sorry, there's a lot of acronyms, the 5th District Citizens Advisory Council. And that is entirely focused on public safety within the 5th District. We, again, are in the 5th District for Metropolitan Police Department. I personally think they're a great district that we are currently finding ourselves in. The officers are really, really approachable, and they work well whenever you need to address a concern or issue. Obviously, they can't save the world, but I think they're doing their best. And the CAC, the 5th District Citizens Advisory Council, we just work as a way to bridge any communication between you all citizens with MPD. So I, as a commissioner, have been really pushing citizens, neighbors, residents to go to that organization, just because I feel like we're addressing certain concerns with safety as silos. And I think if we all just come together, we can learn from each other's issues and hopefully also work on finding resolution in them. So this month, for the month of March, our meeting, which is always the 4th Thursday of the month, for the month of March, we're actually doing it in person. It's going to be at the 5th District, right off of Bladensburg Road, and we're having the Office of the Attorney General attend. There are a few minutes during the meeting that I get to put on my ANC hat, and at this meeting, I will put on my ANC hat to address nuisance properties. So if you have anything like that you believe you have a property that hasn't properly been addressed by DOB, the Department of Buildings, or the Office of the Attorney General, this is probably your best time to address it. My first experience with the Citizens Advisory Council, they helped me with a couple of the crack dens that we had on our end of Trinidad, specifically one that was just infested with a lot of drug addicts and squatters. And luckily we were able to work together to get the, I believe it was the marshals or pretty much some big guns to come in and get those guys out. And it made a huge impact on my block specifically. But that was me and my due diligence as a citizen to address those concerns. So those are some committees and organizations that I would recommend to y'all to attend, and I can connect you directly with any ones that you're interested in.
But we also have other working groups that I started. We have a DC statehood working group. We have a Save Area Cats working group. We have a safety task force, and we have a traffic safety group. Let me just check double quick. There's another one. I have all of here. I think I didn't get anything, but.
Any other questions?
What's the time for that meeting?
That one's at 7. Yeah, 5th District.
That'd be March 20th.
Yes.
That's it. Does anyone want a pamphlet about trees? Getting trees? The Barry Group left for us. Everyone, I think everyone can have a tree planted if they want.
Commissioner Roblin did a walk with our point of contacts for trees, Mr. Jabari, and she has in line, I guess, some spots you all selected to plant some trees in the neighborhood. So if you all are interested in how to do the same, feel free to reach out to us. Other than that, I'll shamelessly plug the ANC meeting. Our monthly public meeting is every second Tuesday of the month. It'll be next week. It's via Zoom. You can easily find our registration info online. If not, reach out directly to one of us as your ANC commissioners. Oh, and I had some good news because I think we discuss it at this meeting? But I'm sorry, we discussed it in our February ANC public meeting that Trinidad was having a lot of illegal dumping of tires in the neighborhood for the course of the past 6 months. Because of good due diligence from neighbors, we had folks that were taking photos of a gold Dodge pickup truck with Maryland tags that was doing a lot of the legal dumping. The one day this was last month. One day, a couple weeks ago, I was coming from Trader Joe's and I looked to my right and I saw a gold Dodge pickup truck with a crap ton of tires on it. And I was like, there's no way there's another truck that's doing this. It has to be them. So I pulled over, got the tag information, got video information, and MPD was able to make our arrest within a couple of days. So they did arrest the individual, but sadly, he was spotted again in the neighborhood this week. So we're doing our due diligence to find out how to prevent this individual, this bad actor, from coming back into the neighborhood again. Because it seems from a couple neighbors he's been spotted again, potentially doing the same. But at least we have information on who potentially was dumping tires all over the neighborhood, because it was getting a little annoying just literally seeing tires almost on every corner. But now it's a process where now we know who's doing it. We just need to have them consistently stop doing this. So we made a little bit of segue there, but if you do see a gold Dodge pickup truck, especially with a lot of tires on it, let MPD know, because this actor has been already addressed by the police enforcement in terms of what they're doing. So other than that, that's all the little blurbs I have for you all. Did you have anything you wanted to share, Commissioner?
If anyone wants to start another working group or task force, we would love that. You know, just let us know what you want to do, and we can put one together and organize it.
I just want to note that on the ASC.DC, the events, it still has actually joined the meeting on the wrong day.
It has the wrong information.
Yeah, it still has so for next week, for example, it has a meeting on Monday instead of Tuesday.
Thank you. And that reminds me, actually, thanks for bringing that up. We're hiring an administrative personnel. So we voted on last month to hire one administrative personnel for ANC 5G, so they can help us exactly with some of these stuff that are falling through the cracks. So if you specifically know anyone that wants maybe an extra $750 a month, that's good with small administrative items and is actually experienced in web design, you know, bring us our way, shoot them our resume, and we'll be able to see if we can bring them into the fold. We've actually got about 6 applicants as of today, and we'll be holding interviews at the end of the month and next month. So we're looking forward to getting that much needed assistance, because as ANC commissioners, we do a lot, but we just don't have all the time in the world to do everything. And the administrative side of things can be a little difficult for us. So we would appreciate if you all had anybody that's potentially just looking for a little extra income in the month and has these experiences, and you know, bring them into the team.
And I'm a secretary, and my intention is very strongly to get the website in shape. So, but I don't know how to work with a website. So as soon as we get the administrative assistant, we plan to fix all of that.
Any other questions?
Thank y'all for everything. Great. Thank you. You want to work that together? The chair's way. I just have to make sure everything's put away okay first off.
Before you are. So he
Nobody's like, no, I don't want
I believe error again.
Yeah, I work on that. I just propagated.
Making sure that the needs are here, understand that person, you know, have fun with it, and yet about the that's perfect. Because of the website, it's check. That's cool. Because even though my son go here, right, number two, have a I can go on the website and have the say so in what that school is, based on the money that's allocated to the school, how to focus that money towards special needs, those like students. So I don't know what you guys can hear.
Thank you.
As well.
Yeah, yeah.
So you gotta be a stakeholder.
Yeah.
Has to do with the, well, people.
Thank you. Y'all have a nice evening. Thank you.
Giving students a go, how it's fun, being appropriate. They see it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Definitely have to. Right?
Great. That's
So,
wonderful.
Council members, so be attendant, and
Yeah, well, you can do whatever way you feel comfortable, right? But I mean, I have
no,
definitely.
that's you guys know how.
No, I think that's great.
Right?
Yeah, as you should, right? I mean, I think it's wonderful that you're so involved and that you want to. Well, you're here, so you're.
Well, you be involved for
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But if there be kind of first that everyone is interested,
Yeah, of course.
right? So you get a step,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And they want you to step faithful. And when it's faithful, your time, your schedule, then you have to. So we never. So I wanted to.
Yeah. And I really appreciate that. I do. Yeah, we need to.
They always, but not only.
Absolutely. Like 100%. I'm here.
That, so, you know, I've been a part of
Yeah.
okay. Real bad.
Right.
And then when it came to focus to
Not an R anymore, it's an A.
that
Yeah, so it's not LSRT anymore, it's local school advisory thing. That's my.
so that's where stakeholder address
They have asked for some things like the budget and other school initiatives. Yep.